The Heat get a win at home over the Pistons, but the game was closer than a lot of fans would have liked. I'll tell you why it was still a positive step forward for the Heat coming up next.
You are Locked On Heat, your daily Miami Heat podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, it is a Friday edition of Locked On Heat, your daily podcast covering all things Miami Heat. I'm Wes Goldberg. However you may be listening on YouTube, Odyssey, or in your favorite podcast app, thank you for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. No David Ramil today as he attends to a personal matter, but he'll be back with us next week. But I've got you covered with a breakdown of Miami's 115-112 win over the Detroit Pistons on Thursday night at FTX Arena. And I'll get to the fallout of Dewayne Dedmon's injury here in a bit. But early on, it looked like the Heat were going to drop their second game in a week to a team with the worst record in the league. They fell behind by as many as 14 early on, but this was just an example of when the variance of three-point shooting goes the other way. I said after the Pacers win that this is why the team shoots as many threes as it does. With the absences of Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, not to mention also guys like PJ Tucker and Caleb Martin not being available, the Heat were leaning more and more into three-point shooting than ever. And early on in that Pacers game, they couldn't miss from three-point range. 5 of their first 5 attempts from the field were all three-pointers. They were just bombing the Pacers off the court because that was part of the strategy, right? Especially matched up against a bigger team like Indiana was. Well, they went with the same strategy, and they blew out the Pacers. Blew them out. They went with that same strategy against Detroit. Now, the final result wouldn't lead you to believe that that was the case, but with the absences still being what they are, they tried to shoot the Pistons off the court. The problem was, unlike that game against the Pacers a couple nights ago, the shots were not falling early on for the Heat. And so what ends up happening is Detroit gets out to an early 14-point lead, and the Heat are kind of playing from behind the entire game, at least for most of the game. And it sort of felt like they were down by double digits for a whole big chunk of that game too. Well, this turned out from going from, that 3-point kind of finesse type of game into being more of a gritty type of game for this Heat team. This was also an example of when everything is just going wrong, Miami's stars, namely Kyle Lowry and Tyler Herro, stepping up. This is why those guys are the star players on this team. A quick recap of basically what I thought was the defining moment of this game. So the Heat go 2+ minutes in that fourth quarter without a score. They're just not organized at all. They're not getting good shots. They're settling for long twos and just contested threes, and they just can't get a bucket to go. Eric Spoelstra calls a timeout midway through the fourth quarter, puts Kyle Lowry back into the game. What happens? Immediately, Kyle Lowry comes in. Back-to-back layups, draws a charge, and then hits another layup. The Heat go from going down by 5 to down to 1 with 1.5 minutes left. Then Tyler Herro, pull-up three-pointer, contested. At the end of the shot clock, no business taking that shot to put the Heat up 112 to 110 with 1:12 seconds left. Now, Eric Spoelstra tried to call a timeout in that play. This is what Spo was saying after the game. He said basically that he choked, that he meant to call a timeout, but never could just get it out because it was a completely broken play. There was other guys open, but Tyler Herro was just sort of draped all over by the defense in the corner there, just had no real escape route and just had to rise up and shoot the three. He does it. He makes it. That's why Tyler Herro is Tyler Herro. It's why he is the ultimate ceiling raiser for this team. So the Heat go up by 2. Pistons answer back with a layup. Tie game at 112. Then Max Strus from the corner with 35 seconds left hits a contested jumper over the Pistons defender. Another one of those shots that you just have no business taking. So you've got Tyler Herro and then Max Strus back-to-back huge three-pointers. The Heat go back up 115 to 112. And then the Pistons get the ball back. And it kind of felt like, and the Heat's defense was a little disorganized. And I actually thought that the Pistons would have been better off just sort of running their offense and trying to get a shot there. They call a timeout. This was not Dwayne Casey. This was like the interim coach, Breck something. calls a timeout. I thought it was a dumb timeout by Detroit. I didn't think they should have taken it. They do. They let Miami's defense get set. Gabe Vincent, Tyler Herro play great defense on Corey Joseph on the perimeter. Joseph puts up a contested shot, rims off. Udonis Haslem, game-stealing rebound. Heat win 115-112. So again, this was one of those gritty kinds of wins that I think, as close as it was against a team with the worst record in the league and missing most of its players, Cade Cunningham, Isaiah Stewart, a bunch of guys were out. Jeremy Grant out with injury. The Pistons had just 9 available players, but the Heat also were without, Bam, Jimmy, PJ, Caleb Martin. They lost Dewayne Dedmon after just 5 minutes. They couldn't buy a shot early in the game. I don't care who you're playing. When you're shooting, 18% from 3 after the first quarter, you're probably losing that game, regardless of opponent, as long as you're playing an NBA team. And these are still, basically NBA teams, despite all the health and safety protocol stuff. This is a game you could be proud to win. As close as it was, the fact that you had to come from behind in the fourth quarter to win it, I still think that this was another example of when just stuff goes wrong. This is a game that a lot of teams would lose. And the Heat, with a skeleton crew team just like the Pistons, they did have their stars, and it was their stars that stepped up late. It was Kyle Lowry. It was Tyler Herro. It was also Max Strus throughout the game. We'll talk about Strus here in a little bit. But Kyle Lowry, 21 points on 9 for 15 shooting, 2 for 5 from three-point range, 6 assists, 4 rebounds, just 1 turnover in the game. This was the Kyle Lowry that the Heat needed. There are games every so often where the Heat need Kyle Lowry to step up from a scoring perspective. Against Indiana, they didn't need him to score. What, he had 6 points, 9 points in that Indiana game? But he was getting the ball moving to everybody else. He was getting into the paint, spraying out, getting 3-pointers for his teammates. That was the Kyle Lowry that the Heat needed in that game. In this game, where they couldn't buy a bucket, it took Kyle Lowry in that fourth quarter, back-to-back layups, just getting to the paint, getting to the rim, just taking it onto himself to force the issue. That's what they needed. And the Tyler Herro, of course, 29 points on 11 for 21 shooting, 3 of 5 from three-point range, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. He had a steal, a great steal and dunk late that was very Dwayne Wade-esque, in my mind. That's not how I saw it. But, he was, of course, huge. And then Max Strus, 26 points on 10 for 18, 5 for 11 from three-point range, and 6 rebounds also to go along with it. Gabe Vincent, 15 points. Shout out to him. And I thought this was, again, you win the rebounding battle at the end of the day. You weren't getting those threes to fall, but at the end of the game, 12 for 32 from beyond the arc as a team, 37.5%, not bad. Not getting to that target of 43s, right? Like that number that we kept talking about. That's because they weren't going in. But the Heat found a way to win. Eric Spoelstra saying after the game, this is just one of those games where you just got to find a way. The Heat did. They move on. They get their 20th win of the season now. They are in third. They're tied for third place with the Milwaukee Bucks now, because I think Milwaukee is going to beat Dallas, or already beat Dallas for third place in the Eastern Conference. So solid win for the Heat. We will discuss player grades next, and why Eric Spoelstra's favorite play of the game might not be what you think. But first, let's talk about Truebill. From forgotten free trials to automatic renewals, when big companies keep charging you, Truebill is your secret weapon to save you money on subscriptions that you don't need. Truebill is the new app that helps you identify and stop paying for subscriptions you don't need, want, or simply forgot about. On average, people save up to $720 a year with Truebill. Because companies make subscriptions hard to cancel, Truebill makes it incredibly simple. Just link your accounts and Truebill will cancel your unwanted subscriptions in one tap. And your Truebill concierge is there when you need them to cancel unwanted subscriptions so you don't have to. Truebill has over 2 million users and has helped save them over $100 million. So don't fall for subscription scams. Start canceling today at Truebill.com/LockedOnNBA. Go right now, Truebill.com/LockedOnNBA. It could save you thousands of dollars a year. Truebill.com/LockedOnNBA. Today's episode is also brought to you by Built Bar. This holiday season, grab the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. Built Bar, filled with so much holiday goodness, rich with decadent flavor, covered in chocolate, but amazingly low in calories, low in sugar, low in net carbs, low in fat, but high in protein. You'll get the best of both worlds, delicious and healthy. With so many flavors, you'll have a hard time choosing. Will you have raspberry or mint brownie, cherry or double chocolate, cookies and cream, or peanut butter brownie? Built Bar gives you that extra fuel you need to knock out your holiday shopping throw one in your jacket or your purse. You never know when you might need it. And because it's the season, tell Santa to throw a few Built Bars in those stockings. Cozy up with a Built Bar and hot chocolate by the fire for a late night snack. Do you like some of those marshmallowy treats around the holidays? You need to get your hands on Built Bar Puffs. They're light, fluffy, and marshmallowy through and through. Get them now before they run out. Go to Built.com. Use the promo code LOCKED15, and you'll get 15% off on your next order. That's promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. Thank you for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. And also make sure to subscribe on YouTube to get the show early, hours before it goes up on your podcast feed. That's what we're doing with the YouTube channel right now. All right, let's get into some player grades here. Not going to do the whole shtick where I have the glasses and the bow tie, because without David here, I don't know, it's just a little weird to do it by myself. So I'm just going to play this straight. Let's go with Dwayne, let's go with Omer Yurtseven first, who checks in for Dewayne Dedmon. Opens after Dewayne Dedmon injures himself 5 minutes into the first quarter. Again, we'll touch on the fallout of Dewayne Dedmon's injury in the third segment of the show, but wanted to talk about Omer Yurtseven. Opens the second half at center, finishes with 8 points, 12 rebounds in 25 minutes. And this was a game where the Heat really needed Omer Yurtseven, and he stepped up. It is not a coincidence, because that's not how stats work, that he was a plus 16 and team high tonight for the Heat. His size in the middle was so important when you were missing Dewayne Dedmon, and you were kind of just like, all right, Omer Yurtseven, I guess Casey Okpala is our backup center. They needed him. And Yurtseven, it's so interesting to see where he was at the beginning of the season to where he is now. In the beginning of the season, developmental piece, right? Omer Yurtseven was great in summer league. Let's see what this guy's got. Earned a spot on the 50-man roster, sort of as that developmental guy, to starting in the second half for this Heat team as one of the three or four best records in the Eastern Conference. He has stepped up in a major way. You have seen the development in each and every game. I was talking with Udonis Haslem before the game after shoot-around today, and I was asking him about Yurtseven, and he just was praising how much work he's put in and just the speed of his development, his receptiveness to coaching, not just from the coaches, obviously, but from Udonis Haslem and guys like that, because Udonis Haslem has been one of the main factors in kind of holding Omer responsible, holding him accountable, and sort of trying to fast track this development the way that they've needed him to do. So Omer Yurtseven, I don't even remember if I gave him an actual grade. I'm giving him a B+ for this game. And that might even be a little too, I might not be generous enough. Let's talk about Udonis Haslem here, okay? Udonis Haslem enters the game with 5 minutes and 2 seconds left in that third quarter after Yurtseven starts the second half. The Heat goes small, kind of mess around with that. But Haslem, coming in with 5 minutes left in the third quarter, has 7 points in 5 minutes to end that third quarter, giving the Heat that crucial spurt that they needed at the end of that third quarter. He's also in the game, plays for the final 6 minutes and 40 seconds, including that game-sealing rebound that won the game for the Heat. He set a bunch of important screens, more importantly, at the end, was directing traffic on offense, telling guys when to cut, when to come around his screens, and all those things. He had a massive impact on this game. Finishes with those 7 points on 2 for 3 shooting, 5 rebounds, and was a +5 for the game. But I just thought his presence was so important. Eric Spoelstra was asked about Udonis Haslem's presence in the post game, because anytime Udonis Haslem plays, a reporter is going to ask Eric Spoelstra about it. And Spo just waxed poetic for, I clocked it like 2.5 minutes, just talked about Udonis Haslem, talked about his favorite play of the game being the double charge that he drew with Kyle Lowry. I want to play you the sound for that. Here it is.
My favorite play by far, without a doubt, of the season and of the game and of everything, is the double charge, with Kyle and UD. These guys could have a competition for their entire career and for the rest of their lives, who can draw more charges. They both have that innate physicality, the feel, they're ahead of the play, and they both take the double charge. Who ended up getting the charge? Was it? I mean, UD's probably hot over that. But they've both been the franchise leaders for charges, Kyle in Toronto and UD here. So it was just the Miami Heat basketball encapsulated in one play, and UD gave us some great minutes tonight. We needed it. We've gone deep into our roster. We feel that we have the depth. I've been through these kind of battles and these moments with UD forever. I don't want it to end, with him. I just love it, having him in our huddles and in this entire process, and he still can produce.
I mean, so there it is. There's your grade right there. Let's talk about Max Strus. All right. So look, he had the 26 points tonight. That's great. Okay. We're getting used to this at this point. 10 for 18 overall, 5 for 11 from 3-point range, had the 6 rebounds and an assist and a steal. Here is Max Strus in the last 4 games. His point totals: 32 points, 24 points, 18 points, and 26 points. This dude is on one right now, and he has become one of Miami's not just important bench players, important players, okay? When he is doing it from 3-point range this way, especially on a night where Duncan Robinson did not have it going. Another big difference between the Indiana game and this Detroit game. Duncan Robinson against the Pacers had it going early. He was sprinkling in some twos, some layups tonight. 0 for 6 overall, 0 for 5 from 3-point range. Wasn't getting all over the floor the way that he was against the Pacers. I'm not really sure why. I'd have to go back on the film and look at it. But it just wasn't happening for him. I thought there were the shots that he was taking from 3-point range were open, and so you can't blame him. And they were just sort of rimming off. He wasn't missing them terribly, but when he couldn't get it going, Max Strus was there to help out from 3-point range, and he was really the guy. It was him and Tyler Herro. Those were the guys that were getting it to go from 3-point range in the second half. So he's become just this really massively important player for Miami, and this is why I always say you can never have enough 3-point shooters. It's not an either-or situation with Duncan Robinson and Max Strus. Gabe Vincent has been crushing it from 3-point range lately, 1 for 4 tonight. You need as many 3-point shooters as possible, and the fact that Strus is still here, and he is right now in the zone over the last couple weeks now, just speaks to his importance. 32 points, 24 points, 18 points, and 26 points in his last 4 games. And by the way, just want to shout out that high release point that he has. Strus listed at like 6'5", 6'6", wingspan of 6'10", and you can see that in that high release point. And the broadcast pointed it out, but it was most notable in that corner 3 to break the tie there that won the game for the Heat. Just right over Cheick Diallo of the Detroit Pistons, had a hand in his face, contested the shot well. Like he played that defense as well as you could. But Strus with that high release point, just getting it over him and getting that shot to fall, that's become a real quality that has been, an advantage for Max Strus. One of those reasons why, despite the size, they're able to play him at this like faux power forward spot, and he's able to kind of get those shots off, those contested shots off. All right, really quick, let's shout out Marcus Garrett here. 19 minutes tonight because, well, he had to play those minutes. The box score doesn't leap out, right? 2 points on 1 for 3 shooting. He had a rebound, and that was it. That was basically the box score. But he was a plus 11, which was second behind only Omer Yurtseven in plus minus for the Heat. His defense is awesome, okay? And Spoelstra said it after the game. He's game ready already. Like, he's already NBA ready defensively, and he is, quote, fast-tracking his way on offense because, again, he just has to on this 2-way contract. He's being forced into minutes lately because of Miami's injuries. But what he can do defensively, that energy that he plays with, the size that he has, this is what I've been talking. Look, I don't think Marcus Garrett is a playoff rotation guy. I don't think he's in the rotation by the end of the regular season when the Heat hopefully at some point get healthy here. But he does project as sort of that player that I've been saying that they need, which is just another wing defender. It's great to have guys like Jimmy Butler on the perimeter and all these guys. But with Victor Oladipo hurt, and even when he comes back, I still think that this team is a wing defender short. There's no real clear path into getting that player. So if Marcus Garrett can give you a few minutes here and there as a perimeter stopper, doesn't have to be for 19 minutes a game. Doesn't have to be every night. It could just be here and there when you really need it. That could be extremely valuable for the Heat. And as Spo said, guys, NBA ready already defensively. You do want to see him rein in the fouls a little bit. Had 3 personal fouls tonight. You want to see him get a little less jerky with the hands and the reaching in. But overall, I thought it was a really strong defensive performance by Marcus Garrett. All right, Coming up next, the fallout from Dewayne Dedmon injury. What do the Heat do if Dedmon has to miss a significant amount of time? But first, let's talk about our friends at Bet Online. Bet Online has you covered this holiday season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before as football continues its march through the college bowl season and pro football playoffs. Bet Online remains your number one spot for all of the sports action this season. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use the promo code LOCKEDON. From basketball, football, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all of the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports, so don't wait to take advantage of all of these new amazing offers that are available. BetOnline, where the game starts. Back here with Locked On Heat. Let's talk a little bit more about what the Heat can do if Dewayne Dedmon has to miss a significant amount of time. So 6:41 left in the first quarter. Dewayne Dedmon misses a layup, comes down awkwardly, and then immediately crumples to the floor. He starts grabbing his left knee. He goes right to he's on the floor for a little while. He does get up, but he walks straight to the locker room, and it's immediately announced by the Miami Heat that he is not returning to the game. Eric Spoelstra after the game saying that they will do some tests on him tomorrow morning, Friday morning, if you're listening to this on Friday, and they'll evaluate from there. So we'll see. But based on that initial response from Dewayne Dedmon and how much pain it looked like he was in, and the fact that he was just ruled out immediately, I'm not optimistic. And if he does have to miss more time, that leaves the Heat even more shorthanded than they already are. So what can the Heat do? Well, first of all, you can hope that PJ Tucker comes back. If he comes back, you have another player in that front court. Obviously, Bam's not coming back anytime soon. But if PJ Tucker can come back, if Jimmy Butler can come back, if Caleb Martin could get out of protocols, all of a sudden you add some more bodies. Not any true centers, but you got more bodies in that front court and you're able to do some more stuff. You're able to play small for more minutes because you have more bodies at that forward position. But the chance of Jimmy, PJ, and Caleb Martin all coming back by this weekend are probably slim, right? So with that in mind, you hope you can get at least one of those guys back. And if not, then Omer Yurtseven starts at center. And then they go back to a lot more Udonis Haslem minutes, some KZ Okpala and small ball lineup minutes. And that's really what you're looking at here, guys. And then, of course, for the Heat, you continue to push the issue on the three-point shooting. You continue to try to get up 40-plus threes a game and just space teams off the floor. And that's really your only option. The Heat found a way to win this game against the Detroit Pistons. In a game where Dewayne Dedmon exited the game after about 5 minutes, they figured out how to put enough together to win. But it was also against a extremely short, like a skeleton crew Detroit Pistons team with only 9 available players and an interim head coach right now while Dwayne Casey is away from the team. Doing this against the Orlando Magic, though they've been hit hard with the protocols too, or even going forward as you look at this schedule, not going to be as easy, right? Like I said, Detroit Pistons, worst team in the league with their players. This was a worse version of the Detroit Pistons, who were already the worst team in the league, and it took everything the Heat had to get this win. Again, a win they can be proud of, all things considered. But being this shorthanded at this moment, understanding that there are a lot of teams that are shorthanded for a different reason. Most teams dealing with the health and safety protocols. The Heat only dealing with Caleb Martin. They're just dealing with a crap ton of injuries right now. Like, this is their worst case scenario as far as injuries are concerned. But they're going to just have to find more ways to win. It's going to be a game-to-game thing, just like it has been. So you hope Dedmon doesn't have to miss that much time, if any at all, because I just don't know how many more injuries the Heat can withstand. The other thing that they could do here is if another player enters protocols, they could sign another player to the COVID hardship exception that the NBA has implemented this week. You don't root for any of these players to test positive. You don't root for any of these players to be placed into health and safety protocols, but players who are injured can test into health and safety protocols. So if that were to happen for the Heat, I'm just laying out the options. That's all I'm saying. I'm not hoping for any one way or the other. Just laying out the options. If the Heat do have somebody test for health and be placed into health and safety protocols, the Heat can be granted a hardship exception and then go out and sign a big man with that exception, which is probably what they would do at this point, I would think. All right. That's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. Remember to subscribe to new episodes of Locked On Heat wherever you listen to podcasts. Comment and leave a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. Reach us on Twitter at Locked On Heat. And make sure to hit that subscribe button here on YouTube. Thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all of your gambling needs. It's free. It's available on all platforms. Happy holidays and go Knights.